Can a deck with no power actually do well in Vintage? Well, yeah, because it top 8'd the largest Vintage event of the entire year. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for the Rare Vintage video, and we are going to be playing one of the Vintage decks that top 8'd a 420 person event, and yeah, it's a meme number, but that's really how big it was, and I'm talking about the American Eternal Weekend. Cell has asked me to play with the mono black deck that top 8'd this event. For those of you not super familiar with Eternal Weekend, at least on the Vintage side, there is always a secret prize. There is a prize for the highest placing deck list that does not have any power in it. And this time around, one of those decks made it all the way to the top 8. And in terms of deck construction, if you're trying to play unpowered in Vintage, you basically have two choices. You either try to emulate a deck that is already powerful, and you just do it without some of the nut draws that cards like Black Lotus can provide, or you play a deck that just simply does not need it, which is what we are doing here. This is incredibly close to a deck that was Legacy legal, a year ago, or however long it has been since Troll and, there we go, Grief got banned from Legacy. Other than the occasional spicy card that is even restricted in Vintage, either for some disruption or the ability to tutor for some extra cards, this is largely a Legacy legal list, or at least Legacy of a year or so ago. This deck is looking to be more disruptive than the average Vintage deck might be used to working with, and in a slightly different way. So on turn 1, you could do something like evoke a Grief, reanimate it, your opponent is down 2 cards, Dark Ritual off your land drop, and then throw down a Dauthi Voidwalker or an Orcish Bowmasters, and you can have some incredibly powerful starts here. And even though Legacy decks tend to be very well equipped to just deal with the average creature, what the fuck is Vintage doing against a 6/5 Super Menace? Like, it is a tough ask if you can't just combo off and win the game quickly, if you can just dump a Troll into play on turn 1. So we're going to see how this holds up in a league, and we're going to see how this holds up in the hand of someone who does not play very much Vintage. I haven't kept track exactly, but I don't know that I've played more than 2 or 3 Vintage leagues in this entire calendar year. So we'll see how it feels in my hands. Obviously, in the hands of M. Patista, it was pretty darn good. Now, there's a couple of spicy things in the sideboard that might not be easy to understand at first glance. When you think about the Vintage card pool, you don't necessarily think about Still Moon Cavalier, but this is a card that is pro-white for your like initiative and hate bear style matchups, so it is very difficult to get rid of. It's something that can take the initiative for you or wall opposing creatures, and protection from white and black reads pretty close to protection from removal in this format. Not fully, but this thing is darn hard to remove. The other one that might not be familiar to you is Necromentia, which allows you to choose a card name other than a basic land card. You search your opponent's everything for it and exile them. Then that player shuffles and creates a 2/2 black zombie creature token for each card exiled this way. Sorry, from hand this way. So if you need to take one specific card out of your opponent's deck because that is their win condition, this card just allows you to, off of a Dark Ritual, snipe their primary win condition. If I have this in hand in a post-sideboard game, I might need to Google my opponent's deck list to figure out exactly what I am supposed to name with it. Otherwise, I like a lot of the stuff here, and the uncounterability of the Long Goodbye can be kind of nice in a format with as many counterspells and pieces of stack interaction as Vintage often has. So let's see if our cards line up well today. And you know, if you want to buy a Vintage deck, but you can't afford power, you could probably get this entire deck for less than 1 piece of power from TOAMagic.com. Use promo code ThrabenU, save 5% on your order, get free shipping, get great customer service, and, like if you want to buy power and use promo code ThrabenU, let them know that I sent you, like that's cool too, but that's a pretty big financial commitment, so make sure you like the deck first. Alright, let's battle. Okay, I don't think I like my hand here. I can turn 1 Wasteland into Troll Cycling, have 2 mana on turn 2. I don't have black for Dauthi. I'm not getting to these value-oriented creatures immediately either. I think I will mulligan this one. This is also not great. Opponent is playing a Lurrus deck. I am just going to confirm. Do I have a Surveil land in this deck? I do not have a Surveil land in this deck. I think on 6, I will reluctantly keep this and hope that the hand improves. Like I can hit a Lotus Petal, a Grief. All right, opponent gets to know what's going on. Anyway, I think there's a fair number of draws that improve the hand into the realm of playability. I'm hoping that if we are playing against a Lurrus deck, we are settling in for a longer game. All right, Bowmasters is reasonable. I'm going to play regular Swamp and pass. And if I draw another Swamp next turn, I can try to save Revolt on this for a Fatal Push on Lurrus later. When it gets a Volk. There's a Volcanic Island that we already knew about, and a Time Walk. And definitely feel the impact of power. And now my conceptual plan of trying to hold off on this fetch land for Lurrus later might be thrown off because of Time Walk. Our opponent is just going to fetch around an opposition agent and pass the turn. Oh, that's quite good. So I am into immediate grief. I think pitching the Goyf. I'm not guaranteed to hit that next land drop here. That is a dress down, which is annoying, but it does mean that the grief is just in play. I think that resolves. So even though I was evoked, dress down removes that ability. Now I think we're just going aggro here. Pick up another swamp. Throw Dauthi out immediately. Dauthi gets countered. I can reanimate it next turn. Actual factual gifts ungiven. Wowzers. Dress down gets sacrificed. Opponent is pyroblasting my creature, which does not kill it. They're just trying to either get a card out of hand or fill graveyard or something like a Murktide? No, not a Murktide. That's a bad example. Treasure Cruise or Dig, maybe? Demonic Tutor. Let's just assume that's bad for me. Oh, yeah, we can just fully get the Ancestral. We don't need to even just dig. Leave the graveyard for later. I was hoping to be able to catch up Bowmasters with something that looked like that. Send in for 3. Opponent is at 13. I believe this is a land here. I'm going to fire off Sorcery Speed Orcish Bowmasters. Send it at face so that if the Bowmasters gets countered immediately, I can just reanimate it. And if it doesn't, I reanimate Dauthi instead. That's another Force of Will pitching a stock up. Okay. So I have a bunch of power in play, and I have the ability to check a Lurrus. This game is actually going okay. My opponent will have some high mana things in their deck that can potentially be pretty scary for me. The Lurrus is not overly threatening right now. And there it is. There's a Lotus Petal back. This is a weird turn now. My opponent knows that I have this Fatal Push. I think I am just casting this as a creature. I'll nuke your graveyard. There's not goodies in there right now. Lotus Petal included. I'll send in with my Menace creature. And this is essentially just going to keep my opponent's life total the same, assuming that Lurrus is attacking. Lurrus is not attacking. Sure. Reasonable. This gives me Revolt for Fatal Push. I don't know which of these lands to take out. I'm going to do Underground Sea. Up to my opponent. Okay, my opponent just conceded knowing that the Fatal Push for the Lurrus was coming. And that is 3, 6, 7, 8 damage on board. Unpowered deck. Let's go. So I'm going to be transparent here since I play so little Vintage. I'm going to be looking at deck lists to help me determine how to sideboard and what I'm playing against. It looks like this is a Gifts control deck, which is an Underworld Breach Brain Freeze deck. I just did not see a lot of the Moxen and such in this game. Got a whopping 4 mana drains to be thinking about. So Long Goodbye is a clean, uncounterable answer to Lurrus. Since my opponent is Grixis, this is not like unkillable here. I like the idea of turning Fatal Pushes into other removal spells because my opponent's only creature is Lurrus. Don't think I need to answer Lurrus because Lurrus is kind of crazy. Playing the Cage is a little weird if I am a Reanimate deck. And this is where I just don't have the best sideboarding heuristics. I think I want Bowmasters, Voidwalkers, Boggart Trawlers, Reefs Trolls. I think I want all of that stuff, so I think I'm going to be doing a light touch on sideboarding. These are really good if my opponent, like, 1-for-1s my creatures a handful of times, but they're slow. I don't know to what extent I should be doing other hate cards that look like these. I think I'm just going to gather more information and mostly run back the game 1 deck. This is a medium opening hand. My opponent has a bunch of artifact mana, then the multiple wastelands are pretty slow. Otherwise, it's fine. I don't know if I should fish for better than fine in Vintage. I think I will fish for better than fine. Triple Reanimate, no creature. Rough. And I'm not going to be thought seizing a creature out of my opponent's hand. I'll go to 5. 5-card hand is fucking stacked. Land, Dark Ritual, Thought Seize You, Cycle, Reanimate on 1. Yup. 100%. Urza's Saga. I don't think that races my troll. I mean, assuming it happens. Fetch. This is the mental misstep is allowed format. Thought Seize You. Cycle Lorien Revealed to get mana in response. Seems reasonable. We will be taking the Force of Will from my opponent's hand. Let's get rid of Lurrus. Let's get rid of Force of Will. Let's Swamp Cycle a Troll. Secure land drop 2. Reanimate a Troll. Excellent. So we have roughly a 3-turn clock here. Urza's Saga ticks up. There's a Volk. There's a Swamp. Now, whatever I play out with my mana this turn can just be eaten immediately by a Lightning Bolt or a Braid, so I want to play my Flash creature. Now, Urza's Saga can just immediately convert into Black Lotus here, and does. So there's a land that I don't know about. And what was that? That Lurrus to hand? Yeah, that was just Lurrus to hand, play Lurrus. Oh, so they can rebuy Black Lotus. Got it. There's the Lotus. And seems like opponent is just going to pass the turn. I'm going to go ahead and just throw this in play. Ping your face. Opponent's at 12. They've got options to deal with this. I'm not going to ambush a Lurrus in combat super realistically. Oh, I got a lag spike here. Okay, there we go. The opponent floats their red in response, and this can allow them to both Abrade and Lightning Bolt. They're going to Abrade the Dauthi. That's happening. If they use the Bolt now. They do. I will just misstep that. Send in with Troll. Opponent is down to 6. Troll outpaces Lurrus life gain here. But opponent has Black Lotus and Lurrus, which is scary. See what they can put together. Merchant Scroll or Chain of Vapor. Oh, they're going to bounce the Troll. I don't really want to bounce Lurrus, because they can just redeploy it with Lotus and then use Lurrus's ability again to redeploy Lotus. My opponent is now out of danger. My Orcish Bowmaster can't attack into Lurrus. Dauthi is a decent pickup. I will just Swamp Cycle this, since it lets me make my next land drop anyway. There's Dauthi. Now I'm just passing the turn. There's a Stock Up, and Stock Up notably is card draw that does not trigger Orcish Bowmasters. Pretty big deal. And cross this stuff off now. Opponent is thinking about the attack. Does not do it. Passes turn. There's a Grief. I can convert Dauthi Voidwalker into a Braid or stock up here. Or I can just say Dauthi Voidwalker is a 2-turn clock and just do it. I think I'm going to try to leave the Dauthi in play. Opponent is at 2. I probably don't kill them next turn. If they don't draw a removal spell, they just attack in with Lurrus. I double block. They go to 5. They get another turn before Dauthi kills them. Yep. So bam and bam. Now the bad thing here is that this can potentially open up cards like Ancestral that were locked behind the Lurrus. I can convert Dauthi into Lurrus. Brotherhood's End. Sure. Goodbye, my creatures. If I hit a land, I get to cast a Grief. Oh shit, it's Breach. I'm going to assume that this ends up killing me in some capacity. There aren't all that many cards in Graveyard right now. I imagine that just gets my opponent everything they need deterministically. Because it doesn't really matter what zone cards go to right now. Alright, I'm just confirming. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard. I don't want Mana Drain to be in hand for my own turn. That can go to graveyard, and I'll send one of the Mana Rocks to graveyard. But I assume that my opponent... Oh, they can also just Gifts again. That's kind of neat. So with the Brain Freeze in graveyard, I imagine that this now kills me. But I'm going to let them mill themselves here, because I think it's very clear that I am playing a stock deck list. I don't know their deck, so I'm going to let them click through this, whereas normally I would concede. But I just want to see what the rest of the stuff I need to be playing around is. Okay, looks like they are just going to mill me. They don't need any more cards here, in which case I will just concede. You've got it. All right, so for the next game, do I want something like Leyline? I could reasonably cut a push. I could reasonably cut the grindy creatures and play Leyline. Leyline is good versus Breach. It's good versus Lurrus, but there's Chain of Vapor style stuff that my opponent can tutor for that bounces it out of play, so it's not a be-all, end-all. Barrowgoyf is something that's good versus things like Brotherhood's End. It's just large. I could also just Null Rod. Null Rod stops the Breach stuff from doing Breach things. I could play the push for Lurrus and 3 Null Rod. I have to spend mana for this. I don't have to spend mana on these. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's try the ley lines. I think it's also possible that I'm overvaluing Orcish Bowmasters. Yes. Holy moly, yes. I think I Grief and pitch Reanimate number 2. Yeah. Let's see what's going on. So I take Force of Will. Then we know exactly what's in my opponent's hand. And now I go ahead and Reanimate the Grief. And I'll take your Time Walk. Sweet. Good turn 1. Now, opponent has 2 pieces of power, so they can just send a Lurrus. I'm going to send in for some damage. Dismiss this. Make a land drop. Thought sees you. I get misstepped. Sure. I will potentially just Demonic Consultation for an answer to Lurrus or another threat. So let's cast this. All right, what are we doing? Oh, cool. Thanks, Magic Online. Long Goodbye is an uncounterable answer to that Lurrus so that it can't lifelink my opponent's way out of this. I think I am into that. I will just confirm that that is currently in my deck before I do this. All right, a lot of my cards are now in exile. Opponent has a Lightning Bolt for my creature. Well, that's not exactly how I would like that to go down. That is what happened. However, if I take out the Lurrus, it is hard for my opponent to win without like a Chain of Vapor. I will strip mine one of your lands. I'll do it in your upkeep if you're not going to do anything. Well, let's take out black. Opponent is stocking up. So my 1-for-1 trades don't look great here. Taxian Probe. Opponent gets to see that I have 2 removal spells. And now they're fetching and cycling Slightly surprised to see the cycling. We're very close to the mode where that just gets to draw 3 cards. I don't know the rest of the hand, though. Well, now I get to know the rest of the hand. Thought sees you. Okay. I'm going to imagine that I have the Luris covered. I think I just start going for these other cards instead. Got the Mana Drain. Force of Will as a counterspell at least requires a pitch card. So my next thing might get Force of Will and a Dress Down at the same time. I'm fine just cycling that and pulling a land out of my deck. I have one more swamp beyond this, so that's just something that I need to keep in mind, because a bunch of cards are currently in exile. And I guess I could go through and math out exactly how many of each thing is in my deck still. I'm not going to do that because I don't think it does me a lot of good. Like, when I draw a card, I am going to play it. That's kind of where we're at. Soul Ring's fine. So I will now hold this troll. I probably still have colorless mana sources in my deck that make this castable. Yes, but not many. It's gonna be a long-ass game of Vintage. Excellent. So if I cast this, my opponent just hard casts a Force of Will. I think I'll wait. And I can potentially do multiple things on the same turn. Okay. So how many outs does my opponent have to Leyline? I think becomes the question. I want to send any Chain of Vapor style effect into exile. My opponent might not even be able to put those into the pile. Yeah, so Chain of Vapor can go directly to exile. And I'll assume that Demonic Tutor is then the scariest of these cards beyond that. Opponent Brainstorms? You don't have that. You don't have that. Notably, I do deck before my opponent as of right now. Just throwing that out there. Oh shit, there's another Chain of Vapor. Hate that. It is very possible for me to lose from here. It's hard for me to re-resolve the Leyline when I know that my opponent has Force of Will. I could hit another land drop and then have bait. Demonic Consultation, removing some number of my swamps from my deck, is super hurting me right now. Opponent is discarding. Get rid of this. This is probably getting countered. And if it's getting countered, I'm just going to pick the one that clocks my opponent faster. I'm slightly worried that if I just select Grief, they go, okay, I'll just Dress Down. And this is not a fast enough clock to win, whereas this is a 2-turn clock. This has to be countered. I think that's how I'm going to view this. Okay, opponent lets me have it. Well, and I'll pass the turn with Bowmaster available. All right. Land drop. Merchant Scroll. Brain Freeze is scary. Underworld Breach plus Brain Freeze, I believe, just kills me. Especially with a Force of Will backup. Alright, I'll ping your face, and then I got nothing. So, Lotus Petal rebought. Opponent can now Brain Freeze with a Storm of 5. I don't have Lotus yet. Let's dismiss this. I'll remember they have Force of Will. But they have, like, Mana Crypt and Sapphire and Lotus Petal. They Brain Freeze again. Oh, they don't need to do that much to kill me. I have Demonic Consultation, a large portion of my deck. Shit. Yeah, they just do that one more time and I mill out there. Alright. That was a cool game of Magic. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Alright, I wish I won the die roll here, as Vexing Bubble on the play and Vexing Bubble on the draw are a little different. I think I'm still going to keep the hand. We've got Demonic Tutor that can allow us to pivot in some interesting ways. I've got a Wasteland if I feel like that's a better thing to do. Turn 1, Naked Soul Guide Lantern. You've got it. Wastelands don't line up well versus basic planes. My long-term plan is probably Reanimate a Troll. I think in respect of Archon of Emeria style cards, I'm just going to fetch now and throw down a Vexing Bauble. I think we both have starting artifacts that are not going to be great for the matchup. I'm assuming that my opponent is playing something in like the Hate Bears initiative ballpark, although Polluted Delta kind of changes my opinion of how likely that is. I will Swamp Cycle, pick up a Swamp. I will destroy target Soul Guide Lantern. Opponent fetches. Oh, it's Containment Priest instead. Well, that sucks. So, my Reanimate will now resolve, dealing me 6 points of damage and making it so that I don't get my friend. Rough. That also takes my creature out of graveyard, so my opponent didn't even need to waste Soul Guide Lantern there. Might be moving into, like, this is Barrowgoyf territory for Demonic Tutor. I don't know what my opponent is doing. I'm not going to get to 5 mana to Demonic Tutor into Barrowgoyf in 1 turn anyway. I think I'm just okay with this. And passing. Oh shit, another one. Okay. Opponent sends in. I'll Bowmasters. King 1. Go for a block to trade with 1. I'm at 9. And we're chilling. Well, my Reanimates are not looking great. My opponent has a Felia. There's not an awful lot that I can do about that right now. I wonder if that's kind of the game. Let's just play this as a creature that can trade with a Containment Priest. Take out your graveyard. I don't think I'm going to attack in fear of other flash creatures. Okay, no immediate flash creature. I don't know how many free cards my Vexing Bauble is stopping, but I've at least stabilized in the short term in terms of my life total. Oh shit, we can just draw one. I am A-okay with just drawing one. I wonder if I was supposed to get rid of my own graveyard. I am less likely to put things in there than my opponent is. I think I'm just going to chill. I think this game is favoring me. Soul Guide Lantern exiling my graveyard would be kind of weird. Okay, sure. I'll get another in a minute. Glad that I held back so I don't take 2 points of damage this turn. Fatal Push. Reasonable Magic the Gathering card. Strip Mine? Strip Mine is kind of gas right now. Yeah. Strip Mine White Source. Let's change phases, shall we? Boards on Bowmaster. Fatal Push on Containment Priest. There goes Bowmaster. Exile each opponent's graveyard. Just throwing that out there. 16. I don't think I'm going to do this yet. Yeah, and that's why. I think there's a very good chance that my opponent sacks the Soul Guide Lantern and then I can end up reanimating something better. A Wasteland, which will just go after my Wasteland immediately, so it can't be used on a colored source later. New Boggart Trawler. Yeah? 13. I will cast this. So I have land sorcery instant. Opponent has land creature artifact instant. I will exile my own graveyard for Barrowgoyf purposes later. Well, I don't know, like maybe this is a Treasure Cruise format and that's me getting lost in the sauce. Lotus Petal, not what I am looking for. This is my next point of power or lethal next turn. Spell Pierce. I will pay. Alright, we're in play. I have lethal on board, and we win the game before I have a solid idea of what my opponent is actually playing, which is sort of unfortunate for me. Okay, I tried flipping through some decks. I don't see anything immediately. I'm going to assume that this is good. I'm going to assume that additional removal is reasonable. I don't know how good this was. I don't know if there's elementals in there, like Solitude style stuff in there. Like I don't know if my opponent is doing Felia nonsense. I don't know if they're doing energy nonsense. I don't know if this is just my graveyard matchup is really bad. I need some of these. Bam. Bam. Bam? I don't know. I saw so few cards there. Land. This is like very close. I'm not quite there. I don't have a Reanimate. I don't have a creature to play. I'm going to just keep this and hope that the hand improves. Any land, any creature, a Reanimate improves this. A Lotus Petal is even fine. Not ideal, but it's fine. Another Thoughtseize. Yes. I don't think I use my Dark Ritual here. I think there's a bunch of timelines where this just like eats a Spell Pierce immediately or a Fluster, and then I can potentially just Dark Ritual next turn while doing something else. F. Don't strip me. Fuck yeah. Did not strip me. So this probably means that a Containment Priest style creature is coming. I think I'm going to cast this and see where we go. It resolved. I think we're doing Grief. I can deal with a Containment Priest being in play for a turn or two. Trigger. There's Containment Priest. Yeah, so I'll just take Swords here. Then my opponent doesn't have too much going on. Soul Guide Lantern is fine. Take a random card out of my graveyard. My opponent might just end up cycling that. With 3 removal spells in hand, I'll just take 2 damage here. That's totally fine. 12. So there's the next land drop. Send in for 3. 16. How much is it to cycle? It's just 1. Got a little lag again. Let's Thoughtseize while that is fully done around a Spell Pierce effect. Hey, a Spell Pierce effect. Am I willing to take 2 more damage to play around a Spell Pierce? Or I could just trade with the Spell Pierce and then fire again, but I'll try to play around it. I'll take the bobble. I'll take the bobble. I'll take the bobble. I'm going to do a reboot after this game. Yeah, I fully crashed. Hopefully I can get back in the game. Okay, we're back. It looks like I did take Vexing Bobble successfully. So I'll go ahead and pass the turn. If my opponent cycles this, they don't. So now that my opponent has strip mined me, Fatal Push is... I can't play it around Daze 100%. Sorry, around Spell Pierce 100% of the time next turn. I think I'll just live with that. But if I draw a land, I do get to play around the known Spell Pierce. Well, I'll take 2 more damage here. 8. This is fine. Yeah, I thought they might crack that at the end of their previous turn. Oh, well now you get to see my secrets. Okay. If my opponent cracks this land, I can Fatal Push in response without being Spell Pierced. I think I will just go to my turn to see if I draw the land. I don't. I think I will Fatal Push anyway and save that long goodbye for a scarier moment. Yep. Pierce is fine. Push you. And attack for 3. Opponent's at 10. I've got removal queued up for the next 2 creatures. They've got land. Still Moon Cavalier. When I hit another mana source, that's like very, very, very reasonable. What are we doing? Celestial Purge. You got it. Opponent has 0 cards. Wonder if you have a Surveil land. You do. And that card went on top, whatever it is. All creatures have protection from black. Fucking wild. Alright. This was not on my radar. However, we will just play this little guy, which my opponent will have a very hard time blocking. And this is a 3-turn clock if I pump mana into it. Where's your absolute grace now, Matt? Opponent says yours is better, lol. We will see. I can't take an absolute grace out of play. Oh. That means that I can pump twice. Guess that's a thing. Wasteland you. You can float your mana. Send on in. No blocks. I will just pump once here. Opponent is at 6. Opponent is passing the turn. Ooh. Interesting. I'm in. There's a very large Goyf. Send in for 2. Opponent is at 4. Opponent is passing the turn. And opponent is dead. I did not get a great feel for what my opponent is doing. The only creature we saw the entire time was Containment Priest. Certainly there are more if my opponent is playing stuff that looks like this, and we just did not see them. GG's. Okay. I have 1 land. I'm playing against a Lurrus deck. I have a Thoughtseize. This is an okay hand. It's not crazy. I am probably not going to get something to reanimate from my opponent, so I don't So, like, this is not great. The fatal pushes are not great until later on. I have Dauthi for the graveyard. I have Bowmasters for draw. It's possible I could get better results by mulliganing here. I can't tell with how little I play the format. So, yes. Thoughtseize. Target your 6-card hand. Ooh. Without thinking about it at all, it's Psychic Frog. That card is very scary. Like, I know that I have double Fatal Push, but if something goes wrong, like, holy shit, that card will destroy me. And, like, there is a Force of Will there, so all it would take is one of these Mishra's Bauble style cards hitting a redraw. There's the fetch off Delta. There's Bauble, which does shut off Grief. However, kind of a cool thing that we can do if my opponent does not spike a blue card. I did not hit my land. Let's see if my opponent drew a blue card. They did not. And we're off to the races. So now I can use this to discard things to reanimate, which is pretty cool. I will say we are definitely playing Vintage today. I'm not a punching bag playing this unpowered deck. Like, it would be better with power, but this is totally fine. Demonic Tutor. That's a scary magic card. I believe that I am just punching for 1 point of damage and not funneling any cards into this here. 18. Lotus Petal. Not good in the face of Vexing Bauble. My opponent's Force of Will is not on right now, so whatever I play will just resolve. Yeah, I'm at 12. Okay. Which one? I think I'm going to do Voidwalker out of respect for future Luris. It also just clocks pretty competently. I don't know whether my opponent just tutored for something unfair or something fair. All right. They went with Ancestral, which is reasonable, but I didn't know if this was enough of a threat that it would prompt an answer. Now that my opponent has mana available, Force of Will is back on again. My opponent can crack Bauble, and then Force card goes on top of Library. Troll. Keep an eye on this zone, because, you know, there are things that I might want to do, but Bauble is weird. I'm sending in... Sometimes this Bauble gets sacrificed and my Lotus Petal becomes a real card. There's a Goyf. I will Swamp Cycle, pick up a Swamp, play a Swamp, and I think intend to do Bowmasters on my opponent's turn. We are Dark Ritual Gamers. Doomsday. Understood. In which case, going harder with Psychic Frog would have been a good idea. Okay, my opponent's Doomsday pile is made. They're going to crack this, at which point I will flash in Bowmasters, although I don't really think this matters. I don't think this is enough damage to be relevant. So ping face, opponent draws, ping face. Oh, we get to gush. It's been a hot minute. Ping face twice. Time Walk. Time Walk is sweet. Lotus. Yeah, the Doomsday pile's really tight if you just get to, like, Gush and then Time Walk. Ponder. Yeah, my opponent's going to be at 2. Yeah, if I get a little more aggressive with Psychic Frog, well, I don't know if I win this one. It might just force my opponent to build their pile in a different way, right? We've got Psychic Frogs as creatures to worry about, but most of the rest of this is spell nonsense. GG. This seems very reasonable. I don't know about Mindbreak Trap. I think I'm going to upgrade Fatal Pushes into things that are uncounterable. I think I want this. I don't think I'm going to play Null Rod. I think I got to get my opponent dead. Doomsday is just notoriously good at beating hate. And I don't know that the soft hate of Null Rod or the soft hate of Mindbreak Trap is good enough and is better than just like a Dauthi Voidwalker that pressures life total or something. I could do something like swap this for this, because this is something that can get flying and wall a Psychic Frog. Otherwise, this is kind of unimpressive, though, versus this that just chonks for 5-ish damage. A little rough to have to respect Psychic Frog and Luris while dealing with my opponent's spell-based combo. is good deck building. This is fine. This will eventually reanimate a troll. Probably not as quickly as possible. I'm going to assume that I just need to Thoughtseize my opponent. Yeah, we'll take the Psychic Frog, and I'll pass. Underground Sea and Ponder. I'm gonna just let that happen. I'm interested in wastelanding this Underground Sea, so I don't want my opponent to return it to their hand via Daze. Cool, cool. Nice. Wasteland, Underground Sea, pass turn. Alright, there's a new land. Oh, absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not. Very nice. And this is a basic. I don't get to wasteland that. Oh wait, hold up. No, it works the same way. Kind of. Yeah, I'll do this now. Get a swamp. Fatal Push is fine. I know my opponent has Daze, so I can't Demonic Consultation for Reanimate immediately and have it work. And Reanimate immediately, but I think I can still just cast this and pick up a Reanimate now. I think that is very much my plan. Oh my god, that's most of my deck. Ugh. Well, you know, no big deal. I'm not scared, you're scared. Opponent says a very Spoils of the Vault coded Demonic Consultation. For sure. So this is gone. I'm not going to forget about Luris, but I'm just going to cross that out. That is a Wasteland target. I need to look at swamps. 1 swamp, 2 swamp, 3 swamps, 4 swamps. There's like 6 of these bad boys. How many of these bad boys are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's 100% reconfirm this. 1 swamp, 2 swamp, 3 swamp, 4 swamp, no swamps in hand. I am good to cycle this troll. Yeah. Alright. So Dauthi Voidwalkers and Reanimates are the plan. I have 1 long goodbye coming. Got it. Bowmasters, sure. Wasteland this. We're reanimating troll. It just clocks harder here. And this can be done around days. It's in play. Excellent. Mox Sapphire. That's not mana towards a Doomsday. Dig Through Time. Great card. Was too powerful for Legacy. The Delve cards kind of crushed Legacy. Baubles, fine. Yep. Can't play around Daze and Bowmaster, the draw that my opponent is going to get in the upkeep. Delavy. You get that. This is a dead card. I might use it for Revolt. That's about the best that I can hope for it. Send on in. 13. Unable to Scream. Yup. Seems good. That's fine. Bobble's fine. Cracking Bobble is fine. End of turn. Very fast Force of Will pitching that Daze that we know about. You've got it. So now I need to top deck a new threat. Opponent gets their redraw. And I get a new Bowmaster, which is great. Time Walk. Seems good. Land drop. Sure. Psychic Frog. Fatal Push the shit out of that. And I think while my opponent has no chance of having a counterspell, I'm just going to do this and get it to resolve. You may have your extra turn. I've got a Bowmaster. New Psychic Frog. I hate it. Yeah? I'm just passing the turn here. There is some tension between drawing the cards and my opponent's low-ish life total. But, you know, my opponent is drawing vintage power level cards here. Opponent's going for flying. Those cards go to exile, but they're not going to exile from play, so they don't have void counters on them. So I eat some damage. My opponent draws a card. That triggers Bowmaster. This goes to face. My opponent is facing a sizable crackback, but Luris is problematic. Reanimate. Just Bowmasters? Bowmasters seems reasonable here. So yeah. King face. 8. Send everyone but you. Is then 7 damage, putting my opponent to 1. This fetch land is not live, and my opponent cannot draw cards with Psychic Frog or Bobble right now. and they have to get rid of both Bowmasters to solve that problem. Okay. Now knowing that my opponent also has Tamiyo, I think I just need more removal. Like, as much as I just want to have threats all the time, I think I have to respect this bear plan very highly. I might be cutting my restricted cards. I just kind of want cards that are generically good on the turn that I draw them. Like, paying 5 mana for a Barrowgoyf doesn't sound great. I think that's the sort of situation that I'm in. Demonic Tutor for, like, Strip Mine feels pretty good. Need one cut. Is it just a Goyf? Or do I slightly disrespect the combo finish and just cut this, even though it kills my opponent's combo finish? Seems like it's very easy to just lose to Lurrus and Psychic Frogs and Tamios. Alright. This is my plan. Doesn't mean it's right, but this is my plan. This is totally fine. Bobble. Rack on themselves to get an idea of what to do with a fetch land, and they like their card. Now they'll draw. I've got a long goodbye. I'm just passing the turn. Opponent fetches and surveils, dunking and unable to scream. Yeah, you can see this. That's fine. I don't think I'm going to fire off Bowmasters immediately. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to use my Dark Ritual on Bowmasters specifically because of the black pips of Dauthi Voidwalker. So I'm going to attempt to kill this with Fatal Push. We'll see if it works. I have a hard no if I need to. I didn't need to this time. Cool. I am into this disruption. Now, I think I'm willing to use this as just a 1 mana boost and play out a Voidwalker. Alright. Ooh, this is opponent's only mana source, though. Sick. There's a new Dauthi. Misty. I will strip mine whatever you get. Happily. Psychic Frog. I have long goodbye for that. This is A-okay. So, strip mine, destroy Underground Sea, long goodbye, Psychic Frog, crash in for 3. This is going great. Hopefully that trend continues. Very nice. So we will pick up a new swamp, do this, go to Punchies. Punchies for 3. Opponent's at 10. Ooh, no land. Wasteland and Strip Mine doing some serious work here. Yeah. 9. Oh, cool. Any tricks going on over there? A Fluster is live, but does not do anything. Frog is probably the most annoying, although Bowmasters might buy more time. Okay, we'll just take Frog still. Send on in. After no blocks, I think I will just do this immediately. Take the extra point of damage off of this token getting bigger. This puts my opponent to 2. And then if they play a creature next turn, I still just attack for lethal through it. Or if they remove Voidwalker, I've still got lethal. And there is the GG's from the opponent. We're now 2-1 with an unpowered deck. Honestly, this deck feels pretty good just by normal vintage standards. All right, round 4. My opening hand is fine. Let's see what we're playing against. Been a lot of blue so far today, and that trend will continue. It feels like I need to take the show and tell due to the double Atraxa that's in hand. Oko is definitely problematic, though. It's a turn 3 Oko, but it's still an Oko. And this card is just absurd at shutting down fair creature-based strategies like what I am doing. So we'll throw down a Dauthi Voidwalker. There's Forbidden Orchard. We have the Oath. I get a friend. There is the Oath of Druids. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player chooses target player who controls more creatures than they do, and is their opponent. And they reveal cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. So, I think I get Atraxid and I lose. Nothing fun in exile for tricks here. I don't know how to win this matchup. Produce a troll on turn 1 might kind of be the plan. Bowmasters being in play even relevant if Atraxa is probably the hit. There's also just like infinity bodies. I think I'm just going to play this as a aggro creature. I think we are just going to get clowned on in this matchup. So trigger. There's Atraxa. Time Walk coming. Is Atraxa Time Walk just enough that I concede? Is going to get another Oath of Druids trigger? Probably. I think I will see a few more cards out of my opponent's deck since I'm inexperienced, but I think they win here. The wording on Grafdigger's Cage. And what's the wording on Oath? So, reveal cards from the top of library. Okay, so you're not exiling them first, so they are from library, so it can't enter. So my cage does what I want it to do. Might be doing this on Atraxa. Might be a plan. Yeah, you can probe. Sapphire, extra turn seems very good. Opponent's kind enough to give me a spirit token. And they get Ogo. And I get an Elk. So in their upkeep, Oath triggers again. Then Atraxa triggers. They do have 4 cards in library. That's a thing. Is there no other creature? Are they only on Atraxas now? Where is this Gaia's Blessing? Yeah, 2 cards in library. I've just fully lost track of what zone is where with all of these triggers. Alright. They are making an Elk and attacking for 7. You hit me to 11. We move on with our respective lives. I don't really have the need to cast any of this stuff. I'm not really getting through the Atraxa anyway. So I think I'll just go ahead and pass the turn and see if they lose to their own Oath. So Oath trigger. Okay, so it was still in library. Unfortunate that this is off. Now opponent attacks me for 7 in the air this turn, 7 in the air next turn, and they've got it. Yeah, you can make friends. Flying is good. 4. Play out a Bowmasters. Ping your face. 26. I mean, I can play that. It doesn't do me any good if I just die to this. So Oath trigger. And they're not dead to this. So I will concede. So they might die to their own Oath if I have something like a Leyline that takes out Gaia's Blessing. This seems great. This seems great. NFLU 3 or less. Not gonna cut it here. These fatal pushes are gonna go. Yeah, I might be playing Leylines to try to kill them with their own Oath due to them milling out. That doesn't feel good. That absolutely does not feel good. I think that's what I'm doing. I might just be removing my slowest creature. This is a Death Toucher. Also just the slowest thing here. This does not seem viable. Like, I know it has the Leyline, but I don't think I'm disrupting enough. This is a little fair and slightly awkward, but I think I am keeping this. We'll start with a Leyline in play. And honestly, I think I'm just going to throw down a Bowmasters immediately and disrupt my opponent's ability to draw cards. I'm not getting cool, sexy void counter things going on right now with Dauthi Voidwalker anyway. Mox Sapphire. Mox Emerald. Orchard as well. I get a friend. What are we dealing with? Stock up. Notably, not true card draw for Bowmasters. Roll doesn't do anything here. I mean, I guess if my opponent show and tells, I can put it in, but, you know. Send in for 3. 16. We're all in. We're all in on not a lot of disruption. I don't feel good about this matchup. Like, even an Oko is just very bad. Alright, there's the show and tell. There's my troll. There's Atraxa. I have a bunch of power that can successfully attack through Atraxa. That's the good news here. Bobble, Force of Negation, Atraxa, Misty. So notably, due to Leyline of the Void, things are not getting void counters right now. So I don't get to do anything cool here. I am technically succeeding in doing damage to my opponent, but realistically, I am not accomplishing any damage. My opponent is just lifelinking 7 back. Oh, do you have like a bounce spell? Well, they're just giving me a spirit token. Sure. They're at 7 life. I'm so close to the finish line. We're almost there, folks. We're not. We'll thin the deck of a swamp and call it a turn. Mox number 3, land drop number 3, and I am unfortunately on a 3-turn clock to this Atraxa. Bloodstained Mire is not what I need here. Send them. Opponent's at 5, but that's really 12, as they just get to attack in for free again. I have no flyers. So I get 1 draw at something that answers this Atraxa. And if I don't hit it, that's just the game. Not only that, but I need something that answers the Atraxa and somehow doesn't get caught up by all of the other cards that my opponent has. Casual Oath of Druids as well. Fetch. Take a swamp out of the deck. Draw another swamp. Well, unless my opponent dies to their own Oath trigger from 44 cards in library. Don't think we're getting there. We get within striking distance. I get my opponent to 3 despite multiple Atraxa hits, but I just can't get over the line. One's at 2. Cast Ancestral. Kill yourself with Bowmaster. Dang. Alright, Oath trigger. They didn't die. Oh, it's a May reveal. I see. Then we're very dead. GG's. Okay, final round here. This hand looks sweet. I'll definitely keep. I think I grief pitching the Reanimate and leave myself with a Fatal Push. I don't know, the second Reanimate is kind of sweet. If I take a creature from my opponent, let's do the Fatal Push. So before I play Vexing Bauble, grief, pitch Fatal Push. Trigger. Oh, this is sick. I'll take White Plume Adventurer. This gets evoked. Play this as land. Cast Dark Ritual. Cast Reanimate on Grief. Miss that. Take your White Plume Adventurer. Cast Reanimate on White Plume Adventurer. I'm at 10 life. Decision paid off to keep the second Reanimate. Okay, so now we have to win 1 of 2 games versus initiative. I have some creatures. I have some anti-creature stuff and a couple of pro-white creatures that I can board in. I'm going to assume Misstep is not particularly good. I'm going to assume that this matchup is fast enough that Demonic Tutor is not necessarily good. This deck playing Solitude. Pulling up a random list, it looks like Anointed Peacekeeper, Archon of Emeria, Chancellor of the Annex, Clarion Conqueror, Seasoned Dungeoneer, White Plume Adventurer, Witch Enchanter. There is a shit ton of artifact mana in this deck. I could actually consider Null Rods somewhat reasonably when I'm on the play. This also might become a play draw thing. Bowmasters aren't incredible, but they're an end of turn flash creature that can help take the initiative. Reanimates are great. I don't know that I get to do this on the draw. What about Thoughtseize? I don't think I want that to open up Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize, Reanimate lines, even on the draw. Yeah, go down a couple of these. My opponent got vintaged in the first game. I have a feeling that a lot of the time I get vintaged this game. It's fine. It's not better than fine. What's the mana base like here? Only 2 basic planes. Maybe this is fine. Yeah. Get rid of a basic swamp here. Chancellor of the Annex. Well, in good news, my plan was hope that I can wasteland you off of lands. Looks like the lands don't matter here. White Plume. I could have Mindbreak trapped. That's super reasonable, actually. Yeah, I think I just got vintaged. So land, I'll pass the turn. I can cycle Troll and Reanimate around Chancellor. Oof. I don't miss this in Legacy. I get trapped immediately. I'm at 15. I get hit for another 5. I am at 10. Reveals Cavern. Yeah, at this point, I think just hitting this off Reanimate is not good enough anymore. And you can play that. I'll Swamp Cycle in case there's something that gets me through this. But I'm just dead if I Reanimate this. Opponent's Pseudo Vigilance happens. Demonic Consultation for Dark Ritual does not do it. Reveal my entire deck to my opponent and die. Yeah, I think this is not doing it. I vintaged you, you vintaged me. Now I get a game where I'm on the play to try again. I might do more to try to make it out of the first couple of turn cycles here. Let's go down some Bowmasters. And then it gets harder. Now I'm not seeing anything that's very easy to cut. And lose a little explosiveness and take out the Lotus Petal. It makes it harder to deploy Null Rod on turn 1, though I'm on the fence about that. I could go down on Barrowgoyf. It's just a big, dumb lifelinker for if we make it to the end game, but I'm trying to make it so that we don't. Yeah, okay. Bam, bam. Ooh, okay. I'm keeping this hand. I'll figure out what it does. Ooh. Land, Dark Ritual. Thoughtseize you, take your initiative creature, Demonic Consultation for Reanimate, take it. Okay, we're still good against the Leyline. Thoughtseize, target you. No initiative creature, this is bullshit. I'm taking Containment Priest. Taking Swords? I think I'm going to end up using a Demonic Consultation on my Singleton Barrowgoyf. Wow, that's bad. Yeah. Take Swords. Cycle Troll, get a Swamp. Demonic Consultation. No fear, no fear. It was the literal bottom card of my library. Literal bottom card of my library. That's vintage, baby. Oh, what a great clip. All right, let's wrap this up here. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Honestly, pretty darn good. With a little bit of practice and some better knowledge of the metagame than what I have, I would expect to regularly go positive in leagues with this. You've got a good set of tools here that seem prepared to attack the vintage metagame. I think you're not always going to be able to compete with the best vintage hands the other decks can bring to the table, but honestly, even full-powered vintage decks often can't beat the nut draws from other vintage decks. So maybe that's fine overall. I'm gonna give this one a thumbs up. This was a lot of fun. I did not super feel like I was playing an underpowered deck. And the cool part is, if you are playing on Magic Online, the power is very inexpensive on Magic Online. So if you want to upgrade this with Black Lotus and whatever, so you could just go, oh, Black Lotus, Barrowgoyf on turn 1, you do have the opportunity to do so. And the stuff that was in the sideboard, generally speaking, felt pretty good to me. No complaints there. And with that, I think I'm going to call it a day. Vintage videos don't tend to get as much engagement from my audience, so if you made it this far in the video, leave me a like or a comment on the way out. It helps out a lot. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!